of The Conjuring is an actual fact about the terrifying experience of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their two most well-known cases, however, were heavily popularized and publicized by the Conjuring franchise, a series of movies that focus on Ed and Lorraine's experience exorcising demons from two possessed families. Though the movies seem exaggerated and impossible to believe, the Warrens uphold that all of the events depicted actually took place. The true story of The Conjuring remains almost unbelievably chilling to this day. The real story of The Conjuring begins with the first film, which focuses on the Perron family. In January 1971, the Perron family moved into a 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where Carolyn, Roger, and 5 daughters began to notice unusual happenings almost immediately after they moved in. It started with small things. Carolyn would notice that the broom went missing or appeared to move from one place to another on its own. She would hear the sound of something scraping against the kettle in the kitchen when no one was in there. She'd find little piles of dirt in the center of newly cleaned kitchen floors. The girl started to notice spirits around the house, though for the most part they were harmless. There were a few, however, that were very angry. Carolyn allegedly researched the house of the home and found out that it had been in the same family for 8 generations, and that many of them had died under mysterious or horrifying circumstance. Several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek. One was murdered and a few of them hanged themselves in the attic. The spirit was depicted in the film Bathsheba, the worst of them all. Whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be mistress of the house. It turns out that there was actually a real person named Bathsheba Sherman who lived on the parents' property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist, and there was proof that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child. Though no trial ever took place, she was buried in a nearby Baptist cemetery in downtown Harrisville. The parents believed that it was Bathsheba's spirit that was agonizing them. Andrea Perron, the eldest of the 5 daughters of the Perron family, claimed that the family encountered other spirits as well that smelled like rotting flesh and would cause beds to rise off the floor. She claims her father would enter the basement and feel a cold, stinking presence behind him. They often stayed away from the dirt floor cellar, but the heating equipment would often malfunction mysteriously, causing Roger to set out downstairs. Over the 10 years that the family lived in the house, the Warrens made numerous trips to investigate. At one point, Lorraine performed a séance to attempt to contact the spirits that were possessing the family. During the séance, Carolyn Perron became possessed, speaking in tongues and rising from the ground in her chair. Andrea claims to have secretly witnessed the séance. "I thought I was going to pass out," Andrea said. "My mother began to speak a language not of this world, in a voice not her own. Her chair levitated and she was thrown across the room." Though the movie version of events culminates with Ed performing an exorcism rather than a séance, Lorraine insists that she and her husband would never attempt one, as they must be performed by Catholic priests. After the séance, Roger kicked the Warrens out, concerning about his wife's mental stability. According to Andrea, the family continued to live in the house due to financial instability until they were able to move out in 1980, at which point the spirits were silenced and the haunting stopped.